Who are you, Scatman John?
Who is Scatman John?
If you have to ask, you're not cool enough to know. I'll tell you right now.
I am cool.
Apparently not. I don't know what to tell you.
I'm so cool, I turned us to be in live.
I mean, whatever you got to tell yourself to sleep at night.
I
But I'm
don't.
just telling you.
I sleep good at night. I don't tell myself nothing.
All right, well, I don't sleep super well at night, mainly because I have a cat yelling at my face at like 2:30 or 3:30 or 4 o'clock. Whenever he decides that okay, that's enough. You're good. You've had enough sleep.
Let's be
And
real.
then he,
Let's be
yeah,
real. You don't sleep well at night because you drink so much coffee throughout the day.
coffee has nothing to do with it.
Coffee has plenty to do with it.
Zero to do with it. The
100%
coffee,
to do with it.
the coffee does not impact my ability to sleep. I will drink coffee and fall asleep immediately afterwards, if I so desire. The
Mm-hmm.
coffee is not in the equation, Gavin. I like to check my heart rate, and when I'm chugging coffee in the middle of the
Mm-hmm.
day,
Mm-hmm.
when I'm just like gulping it down, being like, blah 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 blah, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, I mean, I'll tell you right now, my average resting heart rate for the day was 55 beats per minute.
Well, that just means you're a healthy man.
Yeah, maybe it means I'm a healthy man, but I can also tell you the coffee has no impact on that.
Okay. So you just sleep soundly,
I
other
didn't
than
say
just
that, Gavin.
because you have a cat.
Right, correct.
Gotcha.
With, without the cat, I would not have the reminder to be awake at all hours of the day
Yeah,
by the cat,
that's right.
who has determined empirically and arbitrarily that I don't need sleep because what's more
Because you
important
don't.
than taking? Yeah, obviously I should be taking care of all of his needs at any given time. So, which is why the cat is not on the shirt. It's why a corgi is on the shirt today because the cat is not nice enough to get put on a shirt.
Poor guy.
That's just a fact. If he was, if he didn't wake me up at 4 in the morning, maybe he'd be on a shirt.
maybe, maybe he'd be on the shirt. Yeah.
I have some socks with his face on them. Sometimes makes you feel a little bit better because you're like, yeah, see that I'm walking all over you, cat, just because you woke me up at 4 in the morning.
Is it actually his face or just a cat that looks
Yeah,
like him?
no, it is actually his face.
Damn. My cat woke me up at 7 a.m. on a Sunday morning. I was pretty upset.
I mean, that I don't see an issue with that
I was not too
personally.
thrilled about that.
Cat knows that you need to watch football.
7 a.m. There's no football at
7
7 a.m.
The pregame starts at 7 a.m. Gavin.
Not for me. Pregame starts at 12:59.
No. See, your cat knows you're doing it wrong. Pregame starts 7 a.m. Get the coffee. Wake up. Make yourself a bacon, egg, and cheese. Everything bagel sandwich. Have yourself delightful breakfast. Hot cup of coffee. Put on some sunscreen. Put a tent. Like one of those big old tents. Put it in the back of the car.
Mm-hmm.
Drive to a parking lot.
Mm-hmm.
Loiter. It's the
Gotta
only
loiter.
time that you can. Yeah, it's the only time that loitering is acceptable is if you're tailgating.
Secondary.
Otherwise, people get very fussy
Back
about
at the
it.
10.
But if you put a tent up, get a grill, people are like, "Oh yeah, they're tailgating. They're not loitering anymore." All right,
No.
I'm done loitering on.
Yeah, I'm not
Yeah.
doing all that. That's way too much for me.
All right.
Well, hello. Welcome back to the MLS Now podcast. I'm your host, Russell. You can find me on social media at Mr. Dangerous. Most importantly, you can find the podcast on social media at MLS Now Podcast. And unimportantly, we've got a co-host that I need to introduce. I'm not thrilled to introduce him because he's been dodging me all week like I'm a debt collector Out here, he's like, oh, I'm just trying to skip this guy like a YouTube ad, right? My wife
I
in
called you the other night.
a 95-minute YouTube ad was played in front of my wife today, and that was the hardest I've ever seen a skip button mashed. And that is Gavin when he hits the red decline button whenever I call him. So, with that said, Gavin, you can find him on social media at LionsBlog1. Hello.
Hello. Happy Monday. Glad to be here. Glad to talk some MLS soccer action. As we battle against the NFL season starting and everyone talking about football, we are here to talk soccer.
I suppose we're here to talk soccer.
I suppose.
Yeah, look, there's
think.
a lot of things. There's a lot of things to talk about, Gavin. I mean, soccer is just one component of what is on the docket for tonight. I mean, we of course need to talk graphic design, which I mean, hugely important conversation topic. So, graphic design, got to talk about that. I think it's very important as well to talk about, expressing oneself, to talk about communication strategies, and how you employ those effectively to convey information as well, Gavin. I mean, I think we also have to do some rules lawyering. Put on our hats, right, and act like we are running a board game here, and see if we can figure out how to make rules make sense or understand what people's thought process were. So, I mean, look, soccer, if anything, soccer's ancillary to all these things. They're hugely important topics. Hugely important.
Soccer does make us wear many hats. I think those two are key things key hats we're going to need to be wearing today.
Absolutely, which is very funny because the only hats I've ever seen a soccer player wear are baseball hats. So,
oh, they have those little helmets. If they break their skull open once or twice in their career, they get a little helmet.
Yeah, like rugby caps.
Yeah. Which is not a baseball cap.
Right. It's also not a soccer cap. So
no.
Soccer doesn't actually have any headwear or iconic, gear for the head. I mean, like
not really,
sunglasses. No. Sunglasses. You don't wear those in soccer because I think that's dangerous, right? Other than maybe if you're a goalkeeper.
In fact,
baseball hats.
If we're wanting to talk about the rules, you're not really allowed to have headwear unless you're the goalkeeper, or if you have the literal helmet thing.
Mm-hmm. Or if you have like one of those masks for, like a nose surgery or something.
Nose mask, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, well, we spent a lot of time not talking about what I think is on the agenda today. So shall we get into the agenda?
Absolutely not, Gavin, because I'm here to ask you, do you have anything to drink tonight?
I have a nice, lukewarm, maybe half cold, half warm water.
That's boring.
Quite boring indeed, but...
I heard that was a big gulp.
Yeah, big gulp. I'm thirsty.
You sounded hydrated. I feel more hydrated having heard that. Thank you.
You're welcome. I only take big gulps. I don't take small gulps.
Big gulps today, eh?
Yep.
All right, well, hey, all right, fine. We'll get into the agenda. And since we've talked about rules, I think that's a perfect segue to, of course, talk about the New York City FC rebrand. That's right. We're giving you a little bit of, some whiplash here. Acting like the
I was not expecting that. Yeah.
Anyways, New York City FC rebrand was announced today, hot off the presses, to great acceptance from all fans. Everybody loved it. There was not a single negative thing said about it. Everyone agreed that it was entirely necessary and that the redesign helped convey a clear identity towards the future while respecting what good things they had in the past. Certainly, no controversy at all, I think is safe to say about this rebrand. Smoothest rebrand launch ever, maybe?
I think smoother than some in the past, for sure. But controversy nonetheless. Is it even possible to rebrand without people hating it in MLS?
I don't know. Seattle seemed like people were fine.
I guess so, yes. Seattle's was pretty good. No one really
New England
had a big...
New England was fine. They didn't have a
I
great.
Yeah, I was kind of meh. That's true.
Yeah,
Okay, you've proven me wrong.
but here's the thing. I would agree that in general, MLS misses on these more often than they hit. And so just to clear the air, I think I was sufficiently clear, right? But
Hmm.
yes, everyone did in fact seem to hate this rebrand.
So, why do you think that is? Because this is not as major of a rebrand as many of the other ones. It's a
Correct.
very um, low key change that honestly, if you didn't communicate this out and you just changed the logo, not everyone would have picked up on it. Like some people wouldn't have even realized. Obviously, the fans would have realized, right? The hardcore fans, we would have realized because we are so obsessed with this league. But like the everyday MLS fan, they wouldn't have known the difference. What do you think it is about it that has caused so much backlash, even though
Well,
it's so minimal?
let me answer your question with another question. If the changes are this subtle, quote unquote subtle, that some people wouldn't even notice, was the rebrand necessary to begin with?
Well, I mean, could be just to
Do you
generate.
do you do you think it was?
There's buzz that comes with a rebrand, right? There's financial impacts, new jerseys to be sold with the new t-shirts. You don't want to have the old branding on your t-shirt. You want to have the new branding on your jersey, right? Things
No,
like that.
absolutely not.
No? Okay. Okay.
People love retro stuff. Are you
And
kidding me? Why did the SKC, like, why did the Wizards thing sell so well?
so there's a difference between retro and old, you know. Retro is like long term, old is like 2 years ago. I don't care about it. It has to be in a certain time frame that it becomes retro. But
Mm,
anyways, I think there's a positive from a business side of things to do a rebrand, and it is a more modern looking logo. It's a little bit sleeker. Definitely, when they were putting together this newer design, they clearly said we want a more modern logo, and that's the vibe it gives off.
yeah, I would say it's in line with the current design language going around the league,
Yeah.
where it's a little more simplistic. It's removing some of the finer details, right? Trying to be immediately clear and recognizable as a logo or an icon from afar
Hmm.
without someone having to, really like squint at it and be like, wait, hold on, what's going on with that logo, right? But like, mm, I'm very ambivalent about it. I'm not an NYCFC fan. I
Me
don't
too.
have any strong feelings on it, but I don't know. Like I'm trying to think of it in comparison, right? If Orlando or FC Cincinnati rebranded and it was like very minor in changes, how would you know how would you feel? And again, it's the assessment of if it's minor or if it's major is going to vary person to person. Some people are going to look at this redesign, they're going to say, "Oh, it's huge, it's enormous." And other people are going to look at it and be like, the Office meme, right? It's the same picture, and then they're going to go
Yeah.
point to like some of the more radical rebrands.
Like Chicago's.
Yeah, like Chicago or Columbus, for instance.
Yep.
Like Columbus had a pretty attractive, iconic crest, and then they changed it for upside down Ohio flag in black and
Pretty
yellow, and it's
boring,
just
yeah.
like, yeah, it's not great.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, it really depends on if I liked the new logo or not. Like, if I liked it, I'd be like, okay, cool. If I didn't, I'd kind of be like, well, why'd you change it? It was kind of a waste if it was just minimal changes. So I feel like, yeah, they probably didn't need to do it. Like, to what you were saying earlier and what you were asking me. Like, I guess I was just trying to give the devil's advocate of like, yeah, there's reasons behind why they did it. Did they need to do it? Probably not, but I'm sure they had their reasons.
Yeah, I like how all the reasons you listed were pro business, pro corporation. Like,
There's
oh,
no
look,
other
it's
reason.
yeah, it's like, oh, look, it gets you additional press cycle information and you can sell new merchandise to people. And, now it's like there's old stuff that you have to have. So now you need to buy new stuff to
And
generate, to show that you're still a fan by having the new badge. And,
doesn't it feel a little bit that they are also kind of in like a rebrand? Like obviously they are literally in the middle of a rebrand, but like as a club, they're building a new stadium. They're kind of they feel like they're in this transitionary period where they won the cup. Now they're kind of in this transition period, and then as the new stadium gets closer, it feels like they're going to build again. It feels like this is they almost planned this out perfectly to do a rebrand at this time. Like
planned it
it
out
feels very
perfectly as a
planned.
yeah, I agree. It does feel very planned, very intentional. Hey, one side note, as someone who does not have great vision, hence the presence of these things on the front of my face, right?
Yep.
To help me, correct my poor vision. I do like the fact that I can read the text
Mm-hmm.
on the NYCFC badge.
Mm-hmm.
But that's my one the one thing that I'm like, hey, if I'm the target demographic, they at least got that part, check that off the list. Can Russell read the text without having to, squint a little bit, uh, or try and pick out like, oh, and that's text. Oh yeah, okay, NYCFC, of course, yeah, that's what that says, 100%.
Yep. Yep.
So thank you for that specifically, but I don't know if I'm the target demographic because I'm not buying NYCFC stuff.
Right. Well, we had a correspondent corner from our NYCFC correspondent today, and they didn't play a match, so I think this is the right topic to bring it up on.
Oh yeah, let's hear it. I hope it's about this.
It is 100% about this. Coach Joe says, we had a week off from playing games, but still managed to take an enormous L with the September rollout of a brand refresh, further emphasizing that the club doesn't know which end is up and the front office is tone deaf and can't read a room. So we know
There you
where
go.
how he's feeling on the matter.
I would say if you are plugged into social media at all, I would say that is a consistent reaction to, I don't know if it's the majority of the fan base, but at least the vocal part of the fan base
Yep. Yep.
are espousing relatively aligned takes on that.
They're not too happy. But
They're not
yeah.
thrilled.
To me, whatever. But I get it.
Yep. Well, hey, I think if now that we're talking about people who are just not thrilled at all, right? That segues us into a perfect discussion on how to convey whether or not you're a fan or maybe you're not a fan of certain decisions, certain outcomes, whether or not you agree with, say, officiating decisions. I have an interesting proposition for you, Gavin.
I am ready to hear it.
Caleb Porter and Wilfred Nancy both had some pretty strong statements post their respective matches. Obviously, it's not like the Crew and the Revs played each other, but controversy, in the minds of both of those coaches. Fans may see it one way or another, but hot take: if the speeches were reversed, and if Porter was complaining about call-ups and Nancy was complaining about refereeing and lack of bravery in refereeing, people would still agree with Nancy either way. And people
Yes.
would still disagree with Porter and just look at him and be like, skill issue.
Yes. Also correct.
And
Need to,
I think ultimately it comes down to the demeanor as well as the way in which they present themselves as well as their thought process, and just kind of how they take ownership in their words regarding these specific situations.
It does feel like one of them chooses their words more wisely and puts thought into how they're going to say what they say versus it comes off more as a rant. I mean, spoiler alert for you because you haven't seen it yet, but the title of this episode is Caleb Porter Rant.
Are you spelling Porter like Poorter?
I should have.
He's
I should have. I would have
Porter.
to go update the thumbnail, and I don't feel like doing that.
That's
But
a real shame. That's
poor Porter, yeah, he. It just comes off more complainy than, and to be honest, his message wrong? No, I think we all want better refs to referee the games, but it does feel more complainy that he didn't get his way than Wilfred Nancy, who feels a little bit more sophisticated in his choice of words.
right. Even if, and I think weirdly enough, the crazy, insane part of this is Caleb Porter is complaining about a subjective, person, right? Someone who is on the field making a call, heat of the moment, and he disagrees with what he believes is a subjective decision. Whereas Wilfred Nancy, the rules are the rules, and they would have asked for an exception, which was not granted to them to get around the rule to carry a second keeper on the rosters. So, like, funny enough, people have more sympathy for Nancy, despite maybe people looking at it and being like, well, yeah, Porter, might be right. It is subjective, and
I think
you can
part of
rant
it
all you want
is.
about it.
I think part of it is. I think we all agree the rule is kind of ridiculous.
Oh, the rule is absolutely ridiculous.
Like it's
100%.
bonkers.
Yeah. And which we will be talking about that a little more in depth post this conversation. But I think it's just interesting to me that the choice of words can really impact
Yep.
people's perception of whether or not the rule is dumb. Right? Because if Caleb Porter was complaining about it, we might still say, yeah, the rule's dumb, but we also would be looking at it and being like, but you know what? That's the rules, and complaining about it's not going to get you anywhere. But with Nancy, it's a lot of people giving sympathy, being like, hey, the rule is dumb.
Yep.
We do hate that.
Yep. Well, I mean, shall we get into the matches? I don't have much more to say on that. Of course not.
Gavin, there's so much more to talk about. We have to talk, of course, about that specific rule. I just said we were going to talk about it.
You said what?
In the conversation after this. Well, that conversation ended. Now we're on to the next one. Gavin, come on. The communication strategy here is I've created a clear delineation. You're not picking up the strategy.
You've got me all over the place tonight, my friend.
That is by design. If you look at the notes, it's very logical and well thought out, and it flows and makes complete sense. And I'm just immediately gone off script, at least off in out of order ways with weird segues just to mess with you. You've got me on that one. You are slowly figuring out the pattern. Yeah. So okay, the rule, right? So to give some context. Columbus had one goalkeeper rostered for their match. And my understanding of the rule is that they had used their short-term call-ups for the two team players who would have been goalkeepers and eligible to be called up for these matches. Well, they had used all of those because you get 4, I think, per player. So all of those were used up. And they used them up earlier in the year for various reasons. And, one of those was like a friendly versus Aston Villa. That's one where it's like, it's questionable to use that there. But, the rationale and the reasoning and the choice of words that Nancy uses and, why he's calling those players up wins a lot of sympathy points. And really, you could argue a friendly probably shouldn't even count within this rule. But again,
it's a friendly.
Yeah,
and they're owned by the club. Why?
Yeah.
Why? And I know the club is the league, but like, okay, sorry. Continue.
Well, yeah, I look at it and it's like, but it comes back to the fact that the rule is the issue here. I mean, again, letter of the law, and we love to talk about letter of the law, especially when it comes to, offsides or disallowed goals for handball or something like that. Letter of the law, letter of the law. But this is one where, yes, it's the letter of the law, but the spirit of the law in this case is like, why does this rule exist? Well, because they don't want people signing really talented players to the two team, which doesn't have a salary or spending cap, right? There's no transfer fee limits to this. They don't want people to go buy Olivier Giroud, put him on the two team for LAFC, and then call him up every single week and be like, "We're calling him from the two team, Olivier Giroud, surprise!"
Yes.
And by the way, he doesn't count for anything because he's not on LAFC's
Yeah.
senior roster.
So
So
it would be a
like,
workaround.
yeah, it would be a workaround. So again, the idea and the intent behind the rule makes sense. You don't want teams to take advantage of this. You don't want them to sign a bunch of players who have no business being on the two team because, again, the two team should be about the developmental aspect of the league. And when players are ready and they're showing promise, you can bring them up to fill in gaps within the first team level. So spirit of it makes complete sense.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is that the way it's written, they've imposed this limit of 4 call-ups, and Columbus played a lot of matches, and some of those matches were more meaningful than others, and they used up more of those call-ups, and they used them up quite quickly. And now we are to the run-in portion of the season, and now they don't have any more call-ups, and they're playing during an international window, which that's a whole a whole other thing, right? Like their first and second choice goalkeeper both got call-ups. So, yeah, the decisioning process to even have teams play in the middle of international windows is an entire conversation worthy of breaking down.
One day, yeah.
Yeah, that's how we got to this situation, though, is they had one player who was on their senior roster and everyone else was no longer eligible to be called up. High level, there's you could probably find some other nuances and something else in there being like, well, you see, it's they should have used a season-ending injury on this one player who got injured, and they could have signed someone as a replacement. But that we're going way too far into the weeds at this point. Yeah, so again, letter of the law is they shouldn't have been able to call anyone else up. That no exception was given on that. Spirit of the law is that's kind of the whole reason why these short-term loans exist, is because when there's a gap, you should be able to call up players.
Yeah.
And that it would have been very beneficial because whoever would have been called up would have got some pretty meaningful first team minutes in league competition.
Instead, they had to use a field player.
Right. I think it was Zawadzki.
It was Zawadzki. Yep.
Yeah, which is unfortunate for Zawadzki because now he has a very dubious record as goalkeeper.
I don't think he'll care, other than
I don't know,
not winning the game.
Good on the records.
Yeah.
When people go onto FBref because maybe Zawadzki moves to another team, they're gonna be like, I want to see how Zawadzki does, and it pulls up first goalkeeper, and it's like, how does Zawadzki compare to other goalkeepers? They're gonna be like, what?
He's terrible.
He's a terrible goalkeeper. It doesn't matter the fact that he's not a goalkeeper. They're just it's gonna pull up as a stat. Cannot wait. Love it.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, Russell, I don't have much to say on the rule other than I get the intention.
Mm-hmm. How would you change it?
I think the exceptions are fine. I just don't understand how this was not an exception.
I don't like the fact that you need exceptions, though. Like, if you have to consistently issue exceptions, which there's been exceptions issued throughout the year.
It's just paperwork, though, to gather necessary approval. My headache is why was this denied? Why is this not a hardship? I mean, the league is playing in the international break. They had what, two goalkeepers out because of the international break, or one goalkeeper out because of injury and one because of international break, something like that. And so it's like, this isn't a hardship. This isn't that they don't get an exception for this. So you're not gonna give them an exception there. And then of course the one game where this happens and they get a red card on their goalkeeper.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's just really unlucky from the crew that this happened. But I think it highlights that the extreme stupidity and the fact that it got denied in the first place.
That's why I don't like the fact that it has to be an exception, because if you have teams playing through these international windows, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know you're going to have situations like this happening, which means the way your rule is written is going to have exceptions that you know about every single year. At which point it's not an exception, that's a normal thing. So
Yeah.
you should alter or adjust or update the rule, because this is expected, right? This is something that's going to be normal. It's going to be recurrent.
So you're
Don't
thinking
need
during international breaks, no exceptions, or you're thinking just scrap the rule, or
Or okay, here's the thing: if you are going to have internet, let's say you're playing during an international break, then maybe you say that, hey, call ups would not count because you need players. And if you have a player
mm-hmm.
gone, and you specifically have to have a player who is called up to their national team, and you can replace like for like. Now, if you lose a midfielder, you can't bring in an extra goalkeeper. No, no, no. Have to bring in like for like to the roster. Maybe that's what you do, to say, well, hey, if Schulte's gone on international duty, we want you bringing another goalkeeper who might conceivably get minutes in for that position. We don't want you bringing in a striker who's going to get, no time at all, or, not even like a bench appearance. He's just going to get called up to practice with the first team, and then you end up not
Yeah,
even using him. Like,
yeah,
no, you need to bring in like for like
I like that idea.
during
That's a good.
specifically international windows. And then the rest of the year, then you can say, okay, short-term loans, whatever. But
I can't poke any holes in that. I think it's a good common sense solution.
right. And then you don't have to do exceptions. Because
Right?
again,
Yeah.
teams are like, it's great that you have players getting called up. It's phenomenal. We love it for the players. It's a great recognition for them. They shouldn't have to feel like, oh, I'm leaving my team and there's no one to take my spot because we used all of our call-ups.
Yeah.
So, which, hey, counterpoint to that, don't use your call-ups in meaningless games. Like this isn't an issue.
Well,
But
that's the other stupid thing. Like, why is it counting for a friendly?
right,
It's not an even an MLS match.
correct. Yeah,
That's kind of crazy.
And again, if this was Caleb Porter complaining about it, people would be like, skill issue. Don't use your call-ups, willy-nilly, and you won't have this issue. Duh, obviously.
Yeah.
People like Wilfred Nancy more, so they'll be like, yeah, this is a dumb rule. You're
This
right.
is idiotic.
Yeah. No, you're speaking the truth right now, man.
That Wilfred Nancy guy is very smart.
Yeah, he makes a lot of very well articulated points that are based in fact, statistics, rationale, reason. Caleb Porter. Insane what perception does.
Perception is reality.
Yeah. All right, Gavin. Now that we've gone through these three very important general topics, I think now it's finally time. We can talk about what people care about.
My long, luscious, beautiful hair.
Gavin, people always care about your long, luscious, beautiful hair, but that's a different podcast, my
Oh,
friend.
my bad, my bad, my bad.
No, Gavin, we have to talk about what people care about. It's playoffs elimination watch. San Jose could be eliminated this coming week with a loss or Minnesota winning. What do you think about that?
I think that makes sense. That doesn't shock me in the slightest.
Yeah, no, they would be the first one to be eliminated for the year. So Minnesota, go do
Which
your
also
thing.
makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Or, or Vancouver, go do your thing, go beat San Jose, and they're eliminated, and doesn't matter what Minnesota does. But ideally, Minnesota, go do your thing.
Vancouver's got to win that game, right? Like,
They gotta win that game. You
if they don't
can't be
win,
losing to San Jose.
yeah, a team whose season is legitimately about to be over,
Mm-hmm.
you can't be dropping points at home against that team.
Absolutely not. I think it's safe to say if they lose to San Jose, then everyone pulls the panic alarm and says Vancouver's season is over. It doesn't matter whether or not it is. I have no idea like what they would need to do to have their season legitimately be over, but losing to San Jose is a bad look to the season.
That's a
Yeah.
terrible look. Yeah. Yeah.
Especially at this point of the year. So,
Well,
all
that was
right.
fun. That was funny. I wasn't
That was
expecting
fun.
that.
Yeah. Okay. Now we can actually talk about the things that people care about. It's the match recaps. There were 6 of them. I did not do any headlines for them because I'm not gonna lie, Gavin, 4 of these were draws, and I was like, they don't get
They don't get
headlines.
it. Not for
They
you.
don't. Yeah, they don't get the effort. So we're gonna start with the one that I put the absolute least bare minimum amount of effort into. Houston 0, LAFC 0. That was 90 minutes of soccer game of all time.
All I'll say is we talked about how Houston went to LAFC and beat them. And I said 4 points out of 2 games would be against LAFC would be really good for Houston. And it
They got
seems
4.
like they were playing for the draw in this game.
Mm-hmm.
A very slow game. They had a lot of possession, which is kind of par for the course for Houston at home against LAFC. I think that would be expected with how both teams play. And, there was some chances here and there, but it was just a really slow game. So 0-0, that's what happened. That game occurred
Yeah.
on Saturday.
There were 90 minutes of soccer played, and I hope not a second longer, although unfortunately stoppage time is a real thing. So,
Yeah. Uh, 12 shots for Houston, 7 for LAFC.
yep.
That's just a game.
It, 22 guys kicking the ball around.
Yep.
I don't have much to say on this one because there were, frankly, better games to watch. Did we have any correspondent corner from keeping tabs?
Oy, that's a good point. Let me check. I don't think so.
Oh, come on. I saw them in the group chat earlier today. It's unacceptable.
Not that I'm seeing. Nothing from them.
Ooh, sad day, sad day. If you want a replay or a play-by-play of the thoughts, I know they were very active on Twitter/X during that match. So you could, if you want to live vicariously through them and punish yourself by seeing someone else experience pain watching that, you can go follow them at Keeping Tabs. Gavin, shall we move on?
Let's do it.
Okay. I'm going to keep us on these thrilling 0-0 draws by talking about Vancouver 0, Dallas 0. Easily 90 minutes of soccer.
Easily.
Dallas, look, I want to say this as politely and nicely as possible. Dallas did not deserve to win that match. And Vancouver should feel like this is a loss anyways, because I think Dallas had like 4 shots in 90 minutes.
I've got 7 here on my stats thing.
Okay. Wow. We
Still
just
not
said we said LAFC not great with 7 shots.
Yeah. So.
Dallas 7 shots, not great.
Yeah, Vancouver were kind of dominant in this one, and
Yeah.
I agree that they should feel pretty disappointed to not get the win here. They had a lot of the possession. They had a lot of the chances in this match. They really they looked comfortable in this game, like we just talked about. They didn't give up a whole lot defensively. I think they should feel pretty disappointed that they did not get the 3 points here at home against Dallas.
I notice you use the word comfortable. Would you use that word or would you use the word complacent?
Yeah, complacent's probably a good word for it. Maybe that they felt that it was just gonna, they were just gonna score, like it was just gonna happen eventually, and then it just never did. Maybe that's probably a good word for it.
Quite possibly. Quite possibly.
Quite possibly.
Yeah, I mean, this is one that they should have won, for being honest.
I mean, yeah, not the end of the world. They're still,
Yeah, I mean,
they're
they're
mid-table.
still in it, but a win would have helped them. Would help them quite a bit. It would have put them up to 44 in the hunt for a home playoff spot. And I mean, they're not fully out of it. I mean, they're 26 matches in, so they still have 8 to play. Tons of time yet to go. But I mean, take the 3 points when you can get them, and they did not do that. So unfortunate indeed. And actually, I need to fact check myself on this one, but I think, yeah, no Ryan Gauld on this one. I was like, pretty sure he's still in international duty.
No, yeah, they had some people missing.
Yeah. But
No Brian White, I
mean,
don't think.
what's Brian White done for them recently?
You never know. You never know when Brian White could start a hot streak.
That's the problem. That's the problem, isn't it?
That is the problem. You never know.
Yeah, you really don't know. I mean, but look, I mean, we've said it multiple times earlier in the year. No Brian White, no Ryan Gauld. Vancouver needs to find people who can contribute and make things happen, and they haven't. They don't have answers to that. So,
What's new?
I mean,
Same old Vancouver.
Same old Vancouver. I really want to see them do well, but just they've fallen off as the year's gone on.
Yeah, big time.
All right. Well, that takes care of these riveting 0-0s. Shall we talk about a slightly more riveting 1-1 draw between New York Red Bulls and Sporting Kansas City?
A little bit more riveting, I guess we shall.
Yeah. Okay. Well, here's my initial hot take on this one. Both these teams are kind of ending the season on a whimper. I mean, SKC, yes, right? Like they're scoring goals, great, wonderful, but they're not winning. They're conceding late goals. They're not holding on to the opportunities that they create. Red Bulls started off red hot. People are like, oh my gosh, they're going to be so good this year. Like they've got all these players who are just like performing. They've got this great identity. They're looking like complete menaces. Not the case anymore. I mean, who's looking at Red Bulls now and being like, oh, I don't really want to play them right now? Nobody. Everyone's just like, whatever.
I agree with you on the Red Bulls side of things.
That's interesting.
I agree with you on the Red Bulls.
Let me hear your wild, baseless accusations about Sporting Kansas City then.
I think coming out of Leagues Cup, SKC have looked a little bit like they have a little bit more life in them. So, and maybe this is just because I watched them beat up on Orlando City 3-0, but I also watched them beat up on Indy 11 2-0 as they head into the final of the Open Cup. So, like,
and
I think
and the Open Cup counts for what in the league?
The league, nothing, obviously. Yeah. But I don't think it hurts in the league to be in the final of the Open Cup because you're trying to prepare, you're thinking about that game and how it's going to go. You want to win it, obviously. And so as these league games come through, you're trying to stay fit, you're trying to play well, you're trying to be in contention for the final. You want to be in that squad. So I think it's good to at least have that hanging around, and it also just keeps morale high. Like you didn't go out in the semifinals of the Open Cup this time because they were in the semifinals a couple years ago. They got through to the final this time, and they're going to have a chance at lifting that trophy.
Right. I mean, it's their only trophy they're gonna have a chance at
Yeah.
too this year. So,
But I mean, they're 3 games without a loss. I think they're doing a little bit better. One of those is the semifinal, of course. So,
right.
but still,
I mean, I'm not going to take tons from a semifinal U.S. Open Cup match, nor am I going to take too much. Like, I will take the 3-0 win over Orlando, right? But I'm
mm-hmm.
not going to take it so high that I'm going to be like, oh, we can ignore what's going on in their match against New York Red Bulls and what we've also seen from them throughout the year.
That's fair. I'll
Yeah,
allow that.
I'm not.
It's just coming out of Leagues Cup. They look a little bit of a different team. Just a little bit.
They look okay.
Okay.
They look like a team that is maybe going to make 8th or 9th for the playoffs. Maybe.
Where do they sit now?
Really need. They sit in 12th.
They sit in 12th.
Yeah, and I will tell you right now, they're another team that I've got them and St. Louis both sitting on playoffs elimination watch. Not San Jose, who's sitting on playoffs elimination warning.
They've got a bit of a mountain to climb to get into 8th or 9th SKC.
Yeah, I think they need to win minimum 5, but realistically, they probably need to win their remaining 6.
Yeah.
Because winning the remaining 6 takes them to 46 points. You win remaining 5, you're sitting on 43, and that's maybe getting you into 9th, assuming that some other teams perform equally poorly and that schedules work out. And I mean, Kansas City doesn't have, let me just look to fact check myself here. I mean, they've got LAFC as one of the teams that they play, and they've got Seattle as a team that they play. So, like, those are 2 pretty tough matches, especially because it's away at Seattle.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then St. Louis needs to win out as well to even stay in it. So, yeah, I see some tough matches ahead for them.
Yeah, I agree. It's not gonna be easy, and they probably don't get it. Most likely they don't get it. They most likely won't get it. So
yeah, I agree with you. I do agree with you, which is unfortunate.
Too late.
Yeah. I mean, is it that the fairy tale is ending too soon, or is it the fairy tale began too late?
The fairy tale began too late.
Okay. I think for St. Louis, it might be that the fairy tale also began too late and it's ending too soon. But I agree that for Sporting Kansas City, it might be that it just began too late.
Yep. On St. Louis, I agree.
Yeah, which I don't know how much else you wanted to talk about this match, but we could talk about the other fairy tale team if you're ready for it.
Let's do it.
All right. Well, we've got New England Revolution 2, St. Louis City 2. It's a controversial match. Caleb Porter, incensed, Gavin.
Mm-hmm.
I've never seen a man so livid. Not true.
Not true.
But
not true at all.
In fact, I would say this probably isn't even top 5 for Caleb Porter rants. But was not happy. Had some choice words to say. Threw some pretty choice words towards the ref. I don't know if it was choice words towards Don Garber or just like implication towards Don Garber, but anyways, I mean, anytime you can bring up Don Garber's name in a press conference, that's
spicy.
You know, you're tempting the disciplinary committee on that one.
He tempted them very easily, and they bit the bait. They took it.
Yeah, have we seen an official disciplinary handout?
Yeah, he got a
Was it a 1-match suspension?
I think he just got fined. I don't think he got suspended.
The insane thing is Pat Noonan got a suspension for similar comments.
MLS doesn't make any sense, okay?
It doesn't make any sense.
I'll
I'm just
check to
saying.
make sure, but I'm pretty sure I only saw a fine.
Okay. Well, I thought the disciplinary committee met on Wednesdays anyway, so we might yet see something.
I thought I saw a fine. Maybe not. Okay.
I I can't wait for you to walk this back like 10 minutes from now and be like, "Oh, I just did the research while you were talking." And then no, I didn't actually see anything.
Well, I don't. You have to wait. You don't have to wait 10 minutes for that because I'm not seeing it. I swear I saw a headline that he got fined, but I guess we'll hear on Wednesday.
Unbelievable.
My bad. My bad.
Unbelievable. Just out here putting out fake information. Man
Yeah.
thinks because he's got his name on a podcast and he's got a microphone that everything he says is a fact.
Maybe it's because he used the phrase "I don't care if I get fined."
I'm sure he doesn't because he's probably not the one paying it.
True. True. You bring up a good point.
Or, he gets a fine and then has a mysterious dinner reimbursement, that he submits through on his like T&E at the end of the month. Like, oh yeah, I took out the team for dinner. It's $25,000. Don't question it. This doesn't need a receipt.
Bar tab was crazy that night.
Yeah, just pouring champagne and top shelf all night. None of the players remember either. They drank too much, so don't even ask them if they were there. No pictures either. I took all their phones. But yeah, I mean, okay, so Revolution versus St. Louis. I mean, just a few items here. Maybe the thing that I found, I don't want to use the word like happiest about it, but it's always interesting to see Kessler, former New England Revolution player, scored to give St. Louis the initial lead. He did celebrate. He
Yes.
did, in fact, celebrate. We see players split on this one. Sometimes, they're sometimes they're very mindful, very demure. Other times, they celebrate in front of the fans and are like, yeah. This was one of those times.
Yeah. I thought it was a good goal. It was a really good header. I couldn't care
Yeah.
less that he celebrated.
Are you okay? Are you pro celebration? Like, let's say that you transferred Duncan McGuire. Or it is Duncan McGuire, right?
Yeah,
Let's say you
Duncan
transferred
McGuire.
Duncan. Yeah. I'm like sitting there. I'm like, wait a second. Doesn't he play for Manchester United? I'm like, wait, no, that's Harry Maguire. Um, let's say Duncan McGuire was transferred to, I don't know, Colorado Rapids, and then you guys played Colorado Rapids, and he scored on you and celebrated like right in front of the fans. So how would you feel on that?
Obviously, I'd be kind of annoyed,
Okay,
but like,
we have our answer.
I'm not gonna be mad at him for celebrating the goal. I'd be more annoyed that we got rid of the player that was that's good enough to be our starting striker,
Mhm.
right? And Henry Kessler is good enough to be the starting center back for New England.
Low bar.
Low bar, very low bar. So I'd be pretty annoyed if the player we got rid of recently scored against us. Maybe he's a little salty that he got traded too, right? Maybe he wasn't a big fan of the trade, and he didn't want to have to pick up and move. Maybe he requested it. I don't know. Maybe he didn't want to be there. Like, we don't know the back behind the scenes. Maybe he didn't like the coaching situation, but
Yeah.
so maybe
Well,
there's that behind the scenes, or maybe he's just happy he scored a goal for his new team, and he wasn't even thinking about who he scored against. He was like, "Yeah, let's go!" Like
scored.
just pure elation in that moment.
But here's what I think is a really, again, fun fact on this one. Do you know who he slotted that goal past? Who I think was supposed to be marking him?
Wasn't it Parker?
It was Tim Parker,
Yeah,
former St. Louis City player, now playing for the Revs.
yeah. It was quite the goal. When you have that context there.
Yeah, it was the most interesting one for me on the night. I mean, well, yeah, I guess it's the one that had the most storyline on the night. Carl's heel on his goal. I don't know if you can classify it as a worldie. I think he scores it from his non-dominant foot because I think he's left-footed and he takes the
Yep.
shot with his right,
Yep.
and then hits the goalpost, and then it's always like, how much credit do you want to give someone for hitting the goalpost? Because like it hits the goalpost and goes in. It could have just as easily hit the goalpost and gone out, and then everyone would be like, "Oh, Carlos Seal, just put that like a couple more inches to the right, man." Like, or pass that to a player if you don't have the shot. So like, it looks great and phenomenal and inspirational because he made it. But if he misses it, people will be like, "Oh, take the extra touch you had time, get it onto your left foot, you're better with it." So they're no matter what, there's gonna be a narrative to fit the outcome.
Yeah.
But I mean, overall, pretty good goal. Yeah.
Yeah. I like Hill's goal. I like those types of goals where they're like slow rollers into the corner and he clearly wrong footed the goalkeeper. They're just like really visually pleasing to look at.
Would you say that, like, what's the equivalent in like real life? Is it seeing someone like try and sit down on a chair, but like they sat down too soon, and so like they kind of fall onto the ground where you're just like that's kind of funny. Like a goalkeeper like
Um
slow rolling ball goes past them, they're wrong footed, they can only like stare at it in slow
yeah.
motion, being like,
Yeah.
oh, I have messed up now. Like what's
Gosh.
the real life equivalent of that?
I'm not good at coming up with things on the spot like this.
Oh my
Um
gosh. Okay, well, how about
I
this? You can
can't I
think
can't
about
think
it.
of a real life equivalent to a goalie. Oh, oh shoot, it's going the other way. Like I don't know. Kind of like when a car, maybe like when someone's trying to drive a stick and they stall out.
Okay, yeah,
That would be my real life equivalent.
interesting.
Like they go to start at the green light and they totally get
Hmm.
their start wrong and they're driving
Right.
manual and their car starts and then just stops. That will
Yeah,
that will be my equivalent.
take the foot all the way off the clutch and like they go to hit the gas and realize, put the foot on the brake instead and just immediately
Yeah.
stall.
Yeah. That's my equivalent.
Okay, that's fair. I'll accept it.
I'll rate it a 5 out of 10. Could
I
be
would
better,
rate
could be
that.
worse.
Yeah, I would rate that a slow roller past a wrong-footed goalkeeper out of 10.
I'll take it.
Um, okay. Otherwise, though, I mean, look, it was an interesting match. Like, yes, it's a draw. I think from the result standpoint, New England, I don't know if this result really changes a whole lot for them, for being honest. Like,
No. No. I mean,
they're
Caleb
they're sitting
Porter
in
made it
12th.
sound
Yeah.
like it, but it didn't.
Yeah, well, I mean, if they won this, they'd be sitting on 29 points. They'd still be in 12th. It's just they would be, 3 points off ninth instead of 5 points off ninth. And but they still have, 8 matches to play, and almost every other team ahead of them has fewer matches to play. So we'll see. I don't think it takes them out of it. St. Louis, I mean, it's do or die moment now. I think St. Louis literally has to win out. And
Yeah, I think we said they have to win all but
that,
one, and they
yeah,
already
they
haven't
just
won
used
their
their
one.
one.
Yeah,
Yeah. Not looking great.
it's rough.
But I mean, they're not mathematically eliminated for a little bit yet, but the mountain just went from, Pikes Peak to, Mount Everest.
Yeah, that's a good real life analogy there.
I'm hoarding them all. That's why you couldn't think of
Apparently,
one on
yeah.
the spot.
Apparently, I
Okay.
thought St. Louis played okay. I thought they were okay. I was kind of surprised um, that they didn't win this one. Personally,
I agree. Yeah.
I thought they
This is
I thought they were gonna win.
they should have won. I mean, I don't know. But they're in a weird spot. Like, fired their head coach. They've had so much roster turnover. I don't know. I mean, granted, their roster has improved. I don't think there's no questions about is their roster better now than it was pre-summer window. Like, undoubtedly, yes, their roster is better now than it was pre-summer window, but they still don't have a head coach.
Yeah. Hey, we've got a correspondent corner, and then we can move on. For St.
Hit me
Louis.
with it. Ooh, from Tyler.
Tyler, yeah, he says some draws feel like wins. Others, like this one, feel like losses. I think that sounds about right. A pretty sloppy performance, especially in the defensive third, meant that the 9-point gap to ninth only closed to 8 points with 6 matches remaining. Anything could happen, but I know 2 things that shouldn't happen by any rational expectation. St. Louis shouldn't make the playoffs with those odds, and interim coach John Hackworth should only return to St. Louis next season in an academy or development role. He has done a stellar job as interim getting the team to play interesting soccer again, but against the Revs he showed yet again a glaring weakness when it comes to making in-game adjustments. Shout out to Tim Parker. It was fun to see him once again and felt weird to cheer against him. Also, I totally missed that we had a correspondent corner for SKC from Travis. I know we already talked about them, so sorry, Travis. I will bring this back, though, and say for Kansas City, a draw this season doesn't seem so bad. In a league where everyone makes the playoffs, our hopes are all in the Open Cup. While Polito hasn't been great this year, he's on a decent streak of goal contributions, and his finish against the Red Bulls was class. Melia needs to be gift and memed for his reaction to the goal against us. I guess that's something we didn't talk about. 16-year-old Julian Hall scored the equalizer late in the game for New York Red Bulls. And he wrong-footed Melia. So shout out to Hall for stepping up big in the international break.
It. We could have made our jokes about wrong-footing the goalkeeper like 2 matches earlier.
I know.
1 match earlier.
Jeez. What the heck? All right. That's all I've got on St. Louis and New England. We can probably move on.
And SKC and Red Bull.
SKC and Red Bulls. Yada yada.
All right. Well, hey, I'm going to give you a choice. Do you want to talk about Columbus, Seattle, or do you want to talk about Chicago, DC United?
Let's get Columbus, Seattle out of the way.
All right. Chicago 1, DC United 2. Gavin, you'll note I said I was going to give you a choice. I did not say I was going to listen to your choice.
Ay.
Communication, Gavin. I said I didn't set a clear expectation, so you did not get a clear result. Yeah, I mean, look, I'm more interested in Columbus, Seattle, by the way, so that's why I saved that for last.
Okay.
So DC United, they're winning the games they need to win. That's my headline on, summarizing this overall. This is a game that you would look at and you'd be like, DC United needs to win this game. It keeps them right in the playoff hunt. Now, post-win, they're sitting in 9th place. They've got 6 matches to go. Mm-hmm. Similar matches remaining as basically the rest of the field at this point. Atlanta's 1 point behind them and 1 fewer match played. But come on, who's expecting Atlanta at this point? Like, I think their nearest threat is probably Philadelphia for DC United. So,
yep.
Anyways, beating Chicago though, you need to win these types of matches. They did win it. Christian Benteke still on the score sheet. He's inevitable. Leads the Golden Boot right now. Just want to point that out. He's sitting on 18 goals. He has 6 matches yet to play in. Gavin, do you think you could predict how many goals he ends on? I'm going to say, I would guess somewhere between 21 and 23, but I'm going to give you the hard task. What do you think he ends on?
6 games left? Is that what you said?
6. Yep. 6 matches left. And I can tell you who they're against, if that will matter at all.
Yeah, hit me with them.
Okay. Home against NYCFC. Away to Philadelphia. Home against Columbus. Away to Nashville. Away to New England. And then last match of the season, home against Charlotte.
I think he hits 23. 5 more goals in that stretch. I think he has maybe 1 multi-goal game and then a couple goals in a couple different games. But I think he ends around 23 goals. I guess the next question is that enough to get him The Golden Boot.
Well, he currently leads the Golden Boot race, and
Yeah, but
he's
he's
leading
up by
it.
one.
He is up by one, so assuming all the players have similar numbers of matches left, who do you think like
We've seen
Buonga and Arango are
we've seen
probably
some
your?
funky things happen, right? Where players get like a hat
Mhm.
trick on the final day or whatnot.
That's true. That's true.
So we've
It's
got
very true.
Arango was 17, Suarez
Right.
was 16, Bawonga was
Hmm.
16, and I think the other guys just aren't going to catch up. Musa and Gazdag on 14. I think they're just too far back.
Yeah. No,
So,
it's down to those four, I'd say at this point.
yeah. I mean, obviously, Benteke has the best chance, being that he's the primary goal scorer for his team. And he's got some pretty easy opponents. So I think he's in with a good shout to get it.
All
You
right.
think it's going to be him?
That's who I would put my money on. But I'm now looking. I want to fact check myself. So Salt Lake
Mm-hmm.
has 7 matches to go. They've got Houston, Dallas, Portland, Austin, Minnesota, San Jose, and Vancouver. And ooh, some of those are appetizingly poor defenses.
Yes, they are. It's going to be a
So,
tight race.
yeah, Orongo definitely has a shot at it. And then we've got who else? We said Buanga's in there. LAFC have 8 matches yet to go. They've got El Trafico and they've got Austin, Dallas, Cincinnati, St. Louis, SKC, Vancouver, and San Jose. So a mix. I mean, there's some stout defenses in there, and then there's some porous defenses in there.
Yep.
And then the last one, you said Suarez?
Yep.
I'm so I don't want to believe that Suarez can do it, just for the record, but he does have a shot, doesn't he? And he's got
Mm-hmm.
Philadelphia, Atlanta, NYCFC, the New York City FC,
Yeah.
according to their press release.
Yep.
Charlotte, Columbus, Toronto, and New England. And New England, Toronto feels like a place that you run up the score a little bit, and
A little bit,
Atlanta.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, Yee. Ooh.
Close race. Close race.
Close race, close race. I could see Suarez finishing on those like low 20s, like 22 to 23 as well.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I think they all will. Honestly, all four of them. I think will finish around that. It's just a matter of who has that multi-goal crazy game
What do
in the
you think
last
the
few
winning?
matches.
What do you think winning number is? 25?
I think yeah, someone has to go off a bit. Probably 25. 24, 25. Hey, back to the game itself. We do have a
Oh man.
I know, sorry. We have a correspondent corner from Tim, so we'll just use that. Tim says Fire returned to their former home to face a familiar foe as they hosted DC United at SeatGeek Stadium, but walked away with an all too familiar result, falling 2-1 and putting the team 6 points back of the final postseason spot now in DC's hands. Also painfully familiar was the means of their defeat, with the team unable to overcome the combined effect of a slow start and individual mistakes in the first half. Jeez, excuse me. Adding insult to injury, the team came out in the second half and controlled the game with intent and purpose, leaving fans wondering what could have been if the team would just bring that energy for a full 90 minutes.
Absolutely not.
It's never it never works with Chicago. No matter what they
No.
try, no matter what they do, it just never works.
You know what they need? They need someone who can really bring energy and good vibes. They need Greg Berhalter as head coach.
I don't think you do have bad there.
I do.
I think he would do decent.
What do you define as decent? Because I mean,
I think he'd get them into the playoffs.
like ninth,
No, like a top 7 finish.
a top 7 finish. What did you lace your water with,
I think
Gavin?
he's a decent coach. think he's a decent coach.
Gosh.
People like to clown on him, but I think he's a decent coach.
They like to clown on him for good reason.
Yeah. Hey, we still haven't heard anything about what's his face yet? Pochettino. Still hasn't been announced.
Yeah, no, I saw on social media today that it was supposed to be announced today, and they were signing the paperwork, and it was supposed to be finalized, and I haven't seen anything. So obviously, today did not mean today.
Today did not actually mean today.
Now, by the time this comes out, who knows? Maybe it'll be that day. But then for us, that's tomorrow. For some listeners, it might be today, and for other listeners, it might have been yesterday or last week.
We will never know. Different for each person.
We could know if every single person listening to this episode just goes and hits the link in the description of the episode there. You can send us a message. You can let us know if Pochettino has been hired by the time you listen
Yeah.
to this episode.
Hey, your boy Gutman scored a golazo.
I'm so glad you brought that up because it was on my list of items to talk about. We love, capital L, capital O, capital V, capital E, love to see Gutman on the score sheet. Very happy about it.
Yep. Hard to not like that guy.
Yeah. Good dude.
Yep.
Good dude. Very happy. I mean, especially with the injury he had early on in the season. I mean, I almost wonder what could have been for Chicago if they had a full season of Gutman, but admittedly, I don't wonder that much because, well, I mean, does it change it substantially? I don't.
Yeah, he's not changing too much for them, but he moved us from 2-0 to 2-1.
Yeah, I mean, he's good. Is he the impact that, say, someone like Jordi Alba has?
No.
Yeah, no.
Definitively no.
But I mean, he is better at that position than probably anyone else they have on their team, if you ask me.
Yeah.
Maybe I might be slightly biased because I like Andrew Gutman, but nonetheless, very happy to see it.
Yep. All right, let's move on to this last game with the biggest talking point of the weekend.
Woo! Big talking point. Here it is, coming at you hot and fast. You ready for it?
Let's hear it.
Rusnak scores his first ever career hat trick.
Heck yeah, dude. Good for him.
That's a huge talking point. Take away, let's not even consider the fact that this is against a 10-man Columbus using a field player as a goalkeeper, though.
I won't be taking that away. I won't be removing that. I won't be removing that.
No, yeah, absolutely. Include that in, like, put that like as an asterisk next to this hat trick if you must.
The difference between a professional level goalkeeper and a regular player playing goalkeeper because no one else is a professional level goalkeeper is insane. Insane, the difference in quality. So, no, there's no way I'm throwing that away. Sorry, Albert.
Who would you put from Orlando? Let's say you're in a similar position. What player from the field are you putting in goal?
Oh, Rodrigo Schlegel.
Okay. All right.
Rodrigo Schlegel. Oh, because he's already done it for us.
Oh.
That one's easy.
Okay, fair enough.
Well, to be fair, he just did a penalty shootout for us. But our first ever playoff win was when Galese got a second yellow card in the penalty shootout for I think coming off his line, because at that time it was a required yellow card to get a yellow for coming off your line.
Interesting.
I know, it was ridiculous.
You're really dating yourself right now, Gavin.
Yeah, it was a few years ago for sure. And so Rodrigo Schlegel went in goal and he saved a penalty. So, pretty iconic moment. The hand of Godrigo is what Orlando City fans call it. Yeah, iconic. So, it'd have to be him just because of the vibes. Who would you do for Cincy?
Oh, you can guess it. You don't even need me to tell you.
Are you sure?
Maybe you need me to tell you. Yeah. Take a guess.
Is it Miazga?
No. Oh my gosh. He's played every other position for us. Kubo.
Oh, Kubo. Yeah, he's done everything for you guys.
He's done everything for us. He's played wing back. He's played striker. He's played second striker. He's played attacking midfielder. He's played box-to-box 8.
Defensive midfielder.
He's played defensive midfielder. He's played it all. Oh, come on. It has to be Kubo.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. I thought you were gonna
Even
say
if just
Miazga just because he just I don't know. He's an
no,
elite
absolute.
shithouser.
He is elite at that. You're correct. And here's the other thing. I don't even think he would be a bad goalkeeper because like he has good communication.
Yeah.
And like if we're being honest, that sets apart a lot of world-class goalkeepers from good goalkeepers. Is being able to communicate, being able to organize your back line. We have to rely on Miazga when he's healthy and doesn't have season-ending injuries. We have to rely on him to organize our back line and help keep people focused and understand what they need to do. And without him, that falls on the other players in that center back position. It falls on Celentano, and no one else does that. So, yeah,
Right.
Miazga as a goalkeeper would be solid from a communication standpoint. I have no idea how he would look in goal.
Yeah.
But I would trust Kubo 100% because he's done everything else.
That's fair. Hey, on this game itself, to be honest, it all hinges on the red card and having no goalkeeper. So for me, like, I'm sorry that it's just all that, and we've already talked about that, so I don't want to spend too much time on it. In the chat, Ian Southcote1 says 15 goals. I think this is a fair talking point. 15 goals in all competitions for Morris this year, clearly the biggest talking point. Heard a lot of doubters about him before this season. So,
that was us. We were doubters.
Yes, we were doubters. I'm a doubter. Been a doubter. Obviously, we said the consistency has been a problem for him.
Agree.
15 goals, that's a pretty good number. I think that counts as consistency. Do you agree?
Across all comps?
All comps this season?
Okay. Out of curiosity, how many matches was that?
It's not gonna.
It's not gonna necessarily change my answer. That it's more just like a curiosity standpoint. But yeah, I mean, 15 matches all comps isn't bad. Like that is contributing at a pretty substantial level, I would say.
He's got 28 matches played in MLS. What does he have in the Leagues Cup?
I'm assuming at least 2.
I'm not finding the all comp stats. One second.
So, like, how about this? We can just conservatively say he's probably around, 0.5.
33 games played, something like that.
Yeah, so let's say it's 0.5 goals per 90 is what he's sitting at. Conservative?
Yeah.
Maybe optimistic?
Yeah.
One of those?
Yeah.
If a player is giving 0.5 XG, not XG, if they're giving 0.5 actual goals across a full season, I think people would say that is consistent contributing. Doesn't matter who it is.
35 games played this season, all competitions.
Okay, so he might be closer to like what, 0.4, 0.43 or something?
I'm doing the math. 0.43. Yep.
Okay.
I mean,
I'm good.
It's decent.
It's more than decent. Come on.
It's good.
Yeah. Well, we're crossing into hater territory. Like, doubter means we give him the credit when he's earned it. Hater is we don't give him the credit when he's earned it. So
it's good.
We can be skeptics, but
I think for me it's the all competitions aspect of it. But maybe I'm just being a hater.
Oh my gosh, don't be a hater, Gavin. Unless
maybe I'm
all
just
of
being
those
a hater.
If all of those goals came in like 5 matches, then we can be a hater. I'll authorize it. I'll sign off.
Ian brought up a good point. He said he's a TAM player, so it's good for that. I think that is very fair. Jordan Morris being a TAM player, getting 15 goals, all comps. Yep.
That's fair.
Yep.
That's very fair.
All right. Well, does that do it? I think that does it for an international break, right?
It does just about do it. But here's the other thing, Gavin. We didn't hit on this. Chicago and Nashville are also, I think, they're on playoffs elimination watch.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Is there anyone I'm leaving out? Because I've got five teams listed. San Jose is on elimination warning, and then St. Louis, Sporting KC, Chicago, Nashville are on elimination watch. Any others you want to throw into either of those categories?
I kind of want to pick like a flyer. With the way they're playing, I know they're super close to the playoffs right now. But would you put Atlanta in there?
I mean, I wouldn't put them in there just
Just on a pure
mathematical. Yeah,
math.
just on a pure math reason, right? Now, if they lose, let's say they lose their next two matches and they still sit at 31 points, and I don't know, maybe DC and Toronto climb up, then I'm putting them on elimination watch.
Okay.
And lose another match after that, and they're getting towards elimination warning.
Okay.
But
Okay.
it's not mathematically imminent enough that I feel comfortable to put them in, even if I agree with you that that's likely where they're headed, because I don't have any faith in them.
Okay. Well, I have no other flyers, so that was my only one.
Okay. Well, it's understandable that you don't, but whew, man, Gavin, we managed to spend almost an hour and a half talking about 6 matches. Certainly nothing else.
Nothing else.
Yeah. Hey, great work. Great work.
Good job, team.
Good job, team. Good team effort. And hey, just as a brief reminder, if you think that this team effort was wonderful, or if you want to let us know if Pochettino's been hired yet, whenever you listen to this episode, you can give us some feedback by hitting the link in the episode description. It sends a message right to our inbox. We will get it. Hey, if we love it, if it's funny, if it's relevant, we'll read it out. We're always happy to get people's feedback. We love seeing it. We love hearing from everyone who listens. And whether he's dodging us like a debt collector or not, we love hearing from Gavin too. And just a reminder, you can find Gavin on social media at LionsBlog1. You can find the podcast on social media at MLS Now Podcast, and you can find me on social media at Mr. Danger Russ. Gavin, listeners, till next time.
Till next time.